So welcome to the hybrid and in-person and virtual meeting for the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Central Frontenac. Just so everyone is aware, members of the public may join in person or virtually. For those of you who may be new to the Committee of Adjustment, my name is Susan Irwin, and I am chair of the committee. We also have with us today Lynn Clegus, Bill Everett, Nikki Gowdy, and for our staff representatives, we have Chris Nelson and Abby McKinnon, and online we have Jenny Kaputska, our planner. So Chris Nelson, our Community Services Coordinator, will assist us as the meeting host. We are all, I've already said who are joined by the planning staff. I can't follow a script. The format of the meeting will follow the agenda posted online. Staff have also prepared a presentation for everyone to follow along with during the meeting, and this will be shown on the screen. For each application with a public hearing, we follow this format. I, as the chair, will introduce the file so that everyone knows where we are on the agenda. The planner, Jenny, will provide an overview of the application. We will then ask if there are any comments from the applicant or their agent. Committee members may then ask staff and the applicant or their agent questions, if any. The public then has an opportunity to ask questions or provide comments. And I encourage the public to ask any questions they may have. The committee then deliberates and votes on the application. Voting will take place with members of the committee raising their hands or verbal confirmation if attending online. I will then state whether the vote was carried. All members of the public will have an opportunity to provide comments on the new applications. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Central Frontenac before a decision is made, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. Please note that as of January 1st, 2023, only persons specified in the Act are permitted to appeal consent and minor variance applications. Township staff will be in touch following the meeting and will be forwarding a copy of the decision within 15 days to the applicant and anyone who has requested to be notified. Should you have any questions after the meeting, we encourage you to reach out to staff. The applicant, the minister, or any prescribed body who has an interest in the matter may, within 20 days of making the decision or date of notice of decision, to appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal against the decision of the committee by filing with the Secretary Treasurer of the committee a notice of appeal. I'll now turn it over to Chris Nelson to provide an overview of how members attending virtually can participate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once the meeting is open to the public, the chair will ask if anyone has any questions or comments. Members of the public attending virtually will be asked to use the raise hand feature at the bottom of their screen. This alerts us that you would like to speak. Staff will then notify the chair that someone would like to speak and then proceed to unmute your microphone. You will receive a notification that your microphone has been unmuted. Please wait a second after unmuting your microphone before speaking. If you're calling in by phone, please dial *9 when you would like to raise your hand during the meeting. You will hear a prompt on the phone that you have raised your hand, and you will be notified when your microphone has been unmuted. This afternoon, it looks like we have one member of the public participating online and 2 in person.
In the unlikely account that we have connection issues, fortunately, it's a nice day, so that's unlikely to happen, and the meeting cannot be restored within 15 minutes, the meeting will be postponed and staff will be in touch with each applicant. A notice will also be posted on the township social media, letting you know. So looking at the agenda, the first item is a motion to approve the agenda, and that is moved by Lynn Clegus and seconded by Nikki Gowdy. Are there any amendments?
No, there are not.
Then the agenda be adopted as presented. All in favor? And that is carried. Sign that. Okay, the next item of business is a motion to approve the minutes of the August 8th, 2024 meeting of the Committee of Adjustment and that they be adopted. That is moved by Lynn Clegus and seconded by Nikki Gowdy. Are there any amendments?
No, there is not.
Then the motion is to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor? And that is carried. This time I remembered I have to sign this. Are there any deferred items?
No, there are not.
And no applications for consent?
No, there is not.
Then we are on to applications for minor variance. And the first one is APPN, which I assume stands for application. So that's how I'm going to say it. 2024-0021 for Greenlees. So Jenny, over to you.
All right, sorry, couldn't find my mute button there for a minute. I shared screen first. Thank you for that. This is an application for permission to expand an existing legal non-complying structure, and there's going to be no further reduction in water body setback. So you can see on the screen here a plot plan that was submitted by the applicant. This is a cottage that unfortunately suffered a fire incident over the winter, and during some of the reconstruction for that, it was discovered there were some invasive pests that had also been eating away at it. And as such, the plan became rather one from renovation into one for demolition. At that time, the owner decided that since this was the level of renovations that was needed, it made sense to take a step back and look at what would be the ideal layout for the rebuilt cottage. So the existing cottage has a roof line that is somewhat irregular, owing likely to number of additions over the years. And the applicant is proposing to extend the roof line and enclose three small portions that currently are not. So they're shown on the screen in red with numbers 1, 2, and 3. Number 1 is an currently uncovered, unenclosed deck that's going to be added into the interior living space. Number 2, again, is an uncovered and unenclosed deck that's going to be added into that interior living space. And number 3 is a front entrance that's going to become an enclosed porch. So ultimately, the addition is more for interior living space rather than footprint. The deck along the water side is not, or I guess has not been impacted by the fire and the other pest issue, so is in place and will remain there. And the footprints that are going to be enclosed are existing footprints within the structural footprint, but just are not covered or enclosed. So it's really an increase in gross floor area that we're looking at as an approval today. Here on this next slide is a photo from Frontenac maps. It was a little hard to see with some of the trees, but you can see the existing cottage here is outlined in red, with these blue areas being the areas that are being added to. So as I noted, the deck along the water side is in place and will not be changed. And there'll be no further encroachment towards the water for any of the additions, as they will take place again within the footprint of the existing deck. This application was circulated to Rideau Valley Conservation Authority for comments. Comments dated August 6, 2024 stated no objection as proposed. They did a site visit and consulted their mapping, and there's no mapped floodplain for Leggett Lake, no indication of clays or organic soils or natural hazard concerns for this application. Excuse me. As the dwelling is located within 15 meters of Leggett Lake, Conservation Authority noted that any demolition and or construction will need a permit from RVCA. The existing septic system is sufficient to accommodate the additions proposed, as they are less than 15% of the floor area and do not include the addition of any plumbing fixtures or bedrooms. There was one comment received from a neighbor, and that letter was in support of this application. Sorry. Planning staff's recommendation is that the committee hear any comments from the public and, subject to questions raised, approve this application, subject to the conditions in the planning report. And I would read those, but I'm having a bit of an issue coughing, so you can read that and make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Mr. Greenlees, do you have any comments you'd like to make? Thank you. Any questions from members of the committee? No? Then I have a motion moved by Lynn Clegus and seconded by Bill Everett that minor variance application APPN -2024-0021 Greenlees for part lot 6, concession 7, geographic township of Olden, be approved to demolish, reconstruct, and enlarge an existing legal non-complying dwelling on the subject property with the following additions. Addition number 1, existing uncovered and unenclosed deck with an area of 9 square meters or 97 square feet to be incorporated into the interior living space. Addition number 2, existing uncovered and unenclosed deck with an area of 12 square meters, that's 130 square feet, to be incorporated into the interior living space. And addition number 3, existing front entrance to become an enclosed porch with an area of 4 square meters or 43 square feet. Section 5.6.2 of zoning bylaw 2011-52 requires a water body setback of 30 meters or 98.4 feet. The reconstructed dwelling will have the same water body setback as the existing dwelling. All those in favor? Carried. And finally, that the Secretary Treasurer shall issue the notice of decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including providing the notice of decision to the applicant, any person or public body that made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body prescribed. So thank you, Mr. Greenlees. Next on our agenda is an application APPN-2024-0023 for Eccles. And Jenny, I will hand it over to you to review the application.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. As noted, this is an application for Cherry Eccles. This property is located at 1022 Public Beach Road at the end of Long Lake. So it's just, I guess, almost due south of Long Lake Road. It's sort of where it wraps around. Public Beach Road does bisect the property to the rear and is used to access the public beach and boat launch at the end of Long Lake. So this is a combined application for permission to expand an existing legal non-complying structure. On this sketch here, you can see the property outline is shown in red. The existing structures are shown in blue with the proposed structures shown in yellow. So the existing cottage is fairly small, and the addition being proposed is also fairly small. The addition has an area of just under 18 square meters or just under 200 square feet. And that's going to be added to the existing cottage on the water side of that dwelling. It will decrease the water body setback from 55 feet to 47.2 feet. So a slight decrease towards the body of the water. The reason for this, as noted in comments from RVCA also, is the property is fairly constrained in its size and topography. There is a bedrock slope that rises fairly steeply almost immediately behind the cottage away from the lake. There is a septic system on one side, a storage shed on another, and property lines and lake on the other. So there wasn't a lot of space to really go anywhere but where has been proposed. Additionally, the area that the addition is proposed was a plateau in front of the cottage that was relatively clear of vegetation. There was no trees required to be removed, anything like that. So based on the constraints of the property, it really is the best place to put this addition to the cottage. It's going to be used to facilitate some upgrades to the cottage, including putting in a proper wet certified wood stove and some electrical panel upgrades. There's also an application for minor variance for permission, I guess, to construct a storage shed. So that's shown here where my arrow is showing in yellow. It's a 100 square foot storage shed with a water body setback of about 24 feet. So the storage shed is in place on the property, and the addition is under construction. There was a bylaw enforcement complaint. The property owner was unaware of the requirements for permits for the storage shed. Under Ontario Building Code, a shed of that size does not require a building permit. However, unfortunately, you do still have to comply with planning and zoning regulations. So the storage shed has been there since 2020, but is being included as part of this application. Since we are here, we might as well take a look at all of the items on there and make sure everything's in compliance with the bylaw once this has been resolved. So as is noted, this application was circulated to Conservation Authority for comments. They did do a site visit also to this property, and again, noted that bedrock slope at the rear, the constraints of the property. They also noted there's quite robust shoreline vegetation all along the frontage of this property, and that screens both the addition and the storage shed from view from the lake, and also helps maintain the water quality objectives of the official plan and zoning bylaw, in that it helps with added filtration as well as slope stabilization along the front of the property. The existing septic system is suitable to accommodate this addition. Again, no additional plumbing fixtures or bedrooms being proposed, and there were no public comments received regarding this application. Planning staff is recommending, subject to any comments received from the public tonight, that the Committee of Adjustment approve this application, subject to conditions in the planning report. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Mr. Eccles, do you have any comments or matters you would like to raise for the committee?
You're welcome.
That's good to hear. I have a motion before us. We've had all this in advance, so we've had an opportunity to review it. Are there any questions from or comments from my fellow members? No? Then I have a motion that was moved by Bill Everett and seconded by Len Clagus, that minor variance application APPN 2024-0023 Eccles for Part Lot 1, Concession 6, Geographic Township of Olden, be approved to enlarge an existing legal non-complying dwelling through the construction of an addition with an area of 17.95 square meters. That's 193.2 square feet. This addition will increase the footprint of the dwelling from 40 square meters, or 430.6 square feet, to 57.95 square meters, which amounts to 623.8 square feet. I'm glad I don't have to do those calculations in my head.
I will also note that in this resolution, I didn't include the storage shed, but that is a part of this minor variance, and I will add that into this resolution and the notice of decision.
Okay, duly noted. It also states that section 5.6.2 of zoning bylaw 2011-52 requires a water body setback of 30 meters, which is 98.4 feet. The application is proposing to reduce the setback to the high water mark of Long Lake from 16.8 meters, 55 feet, to 14.4 meters, 47.2 feet, And as Abby noted, we're also including the shed as a part of this motion. All those in favor? And that is carried. And the Secretary Treasurer shall issue the notice of decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including providing notice of decision to the applicant, any person or public body that made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body prescribed. So that is completed.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is any other planning business? Do we have any?
No, there is not.
Okay, then I need a motion to adjourn.
And you have one.
I'm surprised by that. Moved by Bill Everett and seconded by Nikki Gowdy that this meeting be adjourned until 5 p.m. September 24th, 2024, virtually and in person at Oso Hall, 1107 Garrett Street, Charlotte Lake, or at the call of the chair. All those in favor? And that is unanimously carried and signed
5:21.
by the chairperson.
Thank you.
So thank you both for coming out and working with us this evening.
Perfect.
Oh, and thank you, Jenny, for your contributions.
You're welcome. You enjoy the rest of your council meeting later on today.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Enjoy your council meeting later.
Oh, thank you. I heard that they were going to serve supper for us.
Oh, well, it'd come up if I'd known that.
It was a false rumor. Fake
Yeah,
news.
probably.